Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Numerics with Nadia. In today's lesson, we are going to switch gears from our beginner geometry videos and we're going to get into a video that has to do with algebra. So if you guys are in middle school, this will be highly important for you guys. In this lesson, we're going to go over what is slope. Now this is going to be our first video on this, and it's going to be a beginner level introduction. So for our lesson plan, we are first going to introduce and define what slope is. Then we'll get into how slope can be applied. And last but not least, like always, we will get into some practice questions. So to start off, let's go ahead and define what slope is. So slope represents the steepness or the incline of a line. It is the ratio of the vertical change, which we show as change in y, to the horizontal change, which we would represent with the change of x, between 2 points on a line. So some important notation here. The way we represent slope is with the letter m. So slope represents m, and then it is the ratio of the change of a y to the change in x. So the vertical change to the horizontal change. The way that we represent change is with that triangle. So change in y would be our vertical change, and change in x would be our horizontal change. And the way that we would plug this in and we would calculate this, finding the vertical change would be the difference between the 2 points on the line, so y2 minus y1. Finding the horizontal change would be the difference between the two x coordinates of a line, so it would be x2 minus x1. And I've went ahead and also labeled what the two coordinates of our points would be. They'd be x1 comma y1, x2 comma y2. And this is just the definition. We're going to go through and apply it. But before we do that, I want to also look at this visually. So there are 4 different types of slope. You can have a negative slope, a positive slope, an undefined slope, and a zero slope. If we start out by looking at the negative slope first, as we can see from the graph, as our x values increase, so as we move to the right, the line rises from right to left. If we look at the positive slope next, as our x values increase, so as we move from left to right, our line also increases. It increases from left to right. Now for undefined slope is just a vertical line, and zero slope is just a horizontal line. So the way to tell for a negative slope is that as our x values increase, our line is decreasing. And for a positive slope, as our x values increase as we move from left to right, our y values also increase. So the positive slope is rising, the negative slope is declining. Undefined is just a vertical line, and the zero slope is just a horizontal line. I would encourage you guys to copy down these 4 types of slope, as well as the equation that we had on our last slide in your guys' notebooks. And before we move on to the practice section, let's go through some real-world examples of how slope can be applied. So the first way is rate of change. So the most common way that we know rate of change is just through speed. Slope can also be used in construction, and it can also be used for useful graphical metrics that can be applied in your professional careers, such as sales growth, right? Being able to look at a graph and determine the slope and the sales growth. So those are the real life applications of slope. Now that we have defined what slope is, we've looked at it visually, the 4 different types of slope, and we've gone through the applications of slope. Now we can get into our practice section for today. For our practice section, it's going to be split into 2 main components. The directions for the first part of our practice section say to state whether the slope is positive, negative, undefined, or zero. So this will be practice on determining the 4 types of slope. So we will start here. Looking at the graph for number 1, we can see that this one is a positive slope because as our x values increase, as we move to the right, our y values also increase. So this would be a positively sloped line. If we look at number 2, this one would be negatively sloped. Why? Because as our x values increase, our y values decrease and our slope is declining here. It is getting smaller. Our line is declining, so number 2 would be a negative slope. Now for number 3, we have a horizontal line. And what is the slope of a horizontal line? The slope of a horizontal line is just 0. And now if we look at number 4, we have a vertical line here, and the slope of a vertical line is undefined. So now that we have practiced how to classify the 4 types of slope, we'll get into the second component of our practice section for today. For our second type of practice problem, the directions say to find the slope of a line passing through the points 1, 2, and 3, 6. So I would look back at the equation we copied down in our notebooks for the definition of slope, because that is what we're going to use here. Let's first go through and determine that our 2 points are 1, 2, and 3, 6. And if we recall, the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to go through here and label our 2 points. The 1, 2 is our x1, y1, and the 3, 6 is our x2, y2. So if we go through here and substitute in correctly, we will get 6 minus 2 over 3 minus 1. We know that 6 minus 2 gives us 4. 3 minus 1 gives us 2. 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. So our slope and the answer to this practice question is just that m equals 2. And that wraps up our lesson for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is just an introductory video to slope, so if you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment them down below, and I will be doing a few more videos on this topic. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please feel free to like it if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video with a friend, and I will see you guys next time.